And they do that because of their nose, their ability, the sense of smell. So in 1996, I joined the K9 unit with 6 other officers. I'm one of the original handlers. And like I say, some of the things that we use our dogs for back then were tracking. You know, we track suspects that run from us and, you know, run into neighborhoods or and you know, officers lose them. They have the ability to track suspects. They do other scent work, such as if you have lost property, an officer in a foot pursuit and he loses his flashlight or something like that, they have the ability to find it. They do criminal apprehension. If a suspect, you know, decides to run from us and, you know, it's a felonious type call, we're able to deploy the dog and he's able to apprehend the suspect. And there's a lot of training that goes into these dogs. I mean, there's especially what we call a dual-purpose dog. A dual-purpose dog is a dog that works the streets and he does drug work also. And that's what I had for my first, you know, first 15 years on the police department. I had a dual-purpose dog. And there's a lot of training that goes into them. I've had 3 dogs during that tenure. My first one was a German Shepherd. He was out of Czechoslovakia. The second was a Belgian Malinois out of Germany. And the third one was a female Labrador. She was out of Mexico. And the reason we get all of our dogs from overseas is just basically, you know, the training that goes into the dogs overseas. They have over there what they call the sport of Schützen. And Schützen over there is just like baseball, what here to us. You know, they really respect it. They put a lot of effort and pride into these dogs and into the selection process. You know, they select their dogs and they breed their dogs based on their drive, and they want to always promote, you know, the drive and enhance the dog's breed. You know, as opposed to here in the States, you just breed just basically, you know, looks. You know, mainly. I mean, like AKC, we breed for, you know, the dog looks pretty. They breed for the dog's natural drive, what he's really meant to do. You know, like I say, they have 14 drives, and that's a lot of our selection process. We still select a lot of our dogs from overseas. I mean, it's gotten a little better here in the past, you know, 5 or 6 years, where there's been some retired officers who wants to start up, you know, vendors and start breeding dogs. But for the most part, we still get our dogs overseas just because of the selection process. And there's a lot of training that goes into them. As of, like I say, 2007, I had prior to that, you know, I was with the K9 unit, and I worked, for the most part, working the interstate system doing drug interdiction, highway interdiction. That's, you know, with me and my dog, working the interstates, looking for people transporting dogs across the country. And because Interstate 80 is a major pipeline. The police department and K9 unit average is the only self-supporting entity within the police department is the K9 unit. Every year we take minimum $1 million of drug currency off the interstate and $1 million of actual drugs off the interstate. My first year out on the interstate, I stopped a vehicle that was traveling, you know, cross country, and he was transporting $500,000 worth of currency, you know, across the interstate that, you know, he acquired from, you know, selling drugs. And that case went all the way to the Supreme Court and ended up making case law. So, and also I did all the drug sniffs for the Miller School District that time because I was a day shift K9 handler. So in 2007, I had the time to retire from the police department. I was approached by the school board members from the Miller School District, and they had some interest in starting up their own drug dog program. So we did some conversation, and it came to the conclusion that, you know, they were presented to their board, and if the board passed it, you know, they wanted me to start their drug dog program for the Miller School District. So it passed, and in 2007, like I say, I had the time to retire, so I retired from the police department, only to get hired 2 weeks later back through the police department to start the Miller School District drug dog program. So as of 2007, that's my current assignment now. I'm a drug dog handler for the 3rd largest school district in Nebraska, which is the Miller, you know, the school district. And I'm a school resource officer at Miller North. My home base is Miller North Middle School. So, you know, I go around now and I conduct what they call drug audits, basic drug sniffs, you know, at the high schools and middle schools. And also, I do different talks, you know, at the elementary schools, you know, for the kids about safety and type of that type of stuff. And I found that working with the dog, you know, in the high schools, the middle schools, yes, we search for drugs and occasionally we find drugs, but for the most part, when I come into that school with the dogs, it gives me that opportunity to build just an awesome rapport with kids, because kids are naturally attracted to, you know, attracted to dogs, and they see me coming in with the dogs, and we go up to the classrooms, you know, and I go in and do my search, and afterwards the kids say, "Can I pet the dog? Can I pet the dog?" Yeah, you know, I said, "Well, yeah, you know, we pet the dog because he loves to be petted." You know, once he sees the kids got a smile on their face and they want to give him some attention. I mean, he's trying to get over there next to him and, you know, wants them to pet him. So, you know, it gives me that opportunity at that time to, you know, just interact with the kids and build a rapport with them. And in the middle school that I work with, you know, I mean, all the kids know me. You know, they stop in the hallway, the dog's in the school with me, you know, and they come up to me, and it gives them a different outlook at police officers, you know, instead of that negative, what they see on TV and in social media nowadays. It gives them a different, you know, look at it. And we build a rapport, and, you know, it gives me a chance to, with some of the trouble kids, to just build that rapport and mentor them a little bit and watch them grow all the way through middle school. And it's, to me, I guess right now, one of the more enjoyable things that I like, you know, as the job that I have now, is just seeing the kids when they come in the middle school at 6th grade, and then watching them all the way through high school when they graduate and see them mature. You know, sometimes they come in, they have a little trouble, you know, this or that, but by the time they get to high school, you know, I go to the high school, I see them, and they come up and approach me, "Officer Ward, hi," this or that, hug me, shake my hand. It's just like, wow, you know, just the change in them, and just to see them mature into young adults. So that's the, you know, for me, like I say, that's the more enjoyable part of the job now. I'm semi-retired, so when in the current job I have now, when the kids aren't there, I'm not there. You know, if it's summer break or spring break or fall break or snow days, you know, I don't have to show up or anything. So my job is, it's totally different from what I did when I was actually working the streets as a canine handler. I mean, as a canine handler, we got sent into everything in progress. You know, that was the job, that was our job at the time. Anything in progress we'd go to, whether it was a drive-by shooting, whether it was a vehicle chase, whether they're looking for a suspect. You know, it was always a lot of action and full of, you know, and adrenaline, adrenaline for me. But now, you know, my job is, you know, I go into the schools and it's totally different. I just conduct my sniffs, and occasionally we might find, you know, small amount of drugs, but nothing major out in, you know, in the school districts out in Millard. And really, it just gives me that opportunity to build that rapport with the kids, and that's what I really enjoy about the job now. I usually bring my partner with me. You know, I work with a dog. I've had, you know, since I've been doing this canine stuff, I've had 5 dogs. You know, right now my dog is he's a black lab mixed with Malinois, and his name is Zeke, and I usually bring him with me to do some of the talks in the schools. But, you know, no fault on Marty's. I wasn't sure whether I could, you know, I could bring him to the, you know, into to the meeting this morning. So I left him at home this morning. Besides the fact I have a lot of different exercises going on at school. Other than that, basically that's it in a nutshell. I appreciate Marty, you know, giving me the opportunity to come out and speak with you. You guys have any questions about, you know?
Your retired dogs, did you get to keep them?
All of our retired dogs, we have the opportunity to keep. My first 2 dogs I did keep, my German Shepherd and my Belgian Malinois, I kept them. Yes, my first, Dolly, the first school dog, she retired and she's working, she retired, I gave her to one of the resource secretaries in the Miller School District at one of the middle schools. So what Dolly does now is she comes in and she's a therapy dog. You know, she comes to schools, you know, once or twice a week, and she's a therapy dog, and she basically just she just goes around and, you know, walks the halls, and the kids see her, and the kids come up, and all they want to do is play with her. My second dog, Buddy, he retired, and the actual assistant superintendent at the district, he decided to take Buddy. And Buddy is just a pet now, and and just giving him habit. But Buddy likes to play, likes to get out of the yard and go, venture around and things like that. But yes, we get to keep all the dogs when they retire. My current dog now, he'll probably, he's about 5 years old. He probably has another four years of work, and then, it's undetermined right now if I'll keep him or if I'll give him to someone. There's a lot of people inquiring about wanting him when I retire. And my wife, if she had anything to do with it, we'd have every dog that I've ever had, plus a few more, if she had anything to do with it. So we get to keep the dogs.
Appreciate what you do.
Well, I appreciate that. I
Yes.
appreciate you.
Do you think that because you're there, there kind of prevents a drug problem?
I do. It's more of a deterrent also. We show the kids, they make a big announcement. I mean, it's a big presentation when I show up. I mean, I show up at the high school and, they'll make a announcement over the PA system, that the drug dogs in the school, and we're gonna permanently go to a hold situation. That means everybody stays in the classrooms and don't come out, and the teachers continue to teach. And then what we do is we just show the random classrooms, and we have the kids at that time step out in the hallway, leave their book bags and leave their coats inside, and we go in and do drug sniffs. At the start of the program, back earlier, in the early days, we found quite a few drugs, in the school, but as of recently, like I say, it's, it has been a deterrent. The kids, they know, they know that, and the drug problem is really not that big anyway, but it is definitely a deterrent in the school system, just this habits there, because we also go out and we sniff the parking lots, things like that. And one of the things that I've always been amazed by is just these dogs' ability, their sense of smell. It's just mind-boggling to me. I found drugs in, when I was actually working the streets, I found drugs inside vehicle tires. People driving down the interstate, they're hiding drugs inside their tires, inside their batteries, inside their drive shafts, inside hidden compartments or trailers, and the dog's able to sniff that out. And these people, that's transporting the drugs, they're nowhere out there, and they try to do things such as, like one situation I had, I stopped the vehicle, and he was transporting, the situation with the guy with the money. He was pulling driving an F4 250 and pulling a small 5x8 U-Haul trailer. And when I stopped to talk to him, he was nervous, but everybody, when you stop by the police department, everybody's nervous. But they usually calm down once you start to talk with them, once I engage in the conversation, they calm down. But this guy just was continuing nervous and was raised the hair on the back of my neck. And I'm like, oh, that's, something's not right here. So I engaged him in conversation, and he gave me several different stories about his whereabouts, his route, and where he was coming from. He used to get a lot of things and things like that. So I basically told him I was just gonna, gave back his driver's license and told him I was gonna get my dog out and walk my dog around this vehicle. Because our dogs pick up on the odor of drug. The actual drug doesn't even have to be there. They just pick up the odor of drug. So I get the dog out of the car, and I start at the front of the car, and I walk him to the back of the U-Haul, and the dog starts to bark, bite, and scratch because he was aggressive indicator. It tells me that he smells drugs emanating from, from the trailer. So I put the dog away, and I go back and I speak to the gentleman, and I tell him, hey, this is what happened, this is why it happened. Do you mind if I search inside of your trailer? Which, at that time, if he would have said no, the trailer belongs to me anyway, because the Supreme Court says once dog indicates, that the odor's there, I can do what I want with it. But just to cover all my bases, I asked for permission, he gave me permission. He opened up the rear of the trailer, I got the dog sitting on the inside, he went to a black duffel bag. And when he opened it up, I looked in the trailer and I noticed that, basically this is what we call a cover load. Everything inside that vehicle wasn't even worth $100. He had a sofa that was missing all 3 legs, and it was cut up, and he had stereo equipment that was busted, and just stuff that you would require from the Salvation Army or something like that. So I was like, this is weird. Why is he transferred? The U-Haul rental, the U-Haul costs more than. So you know, the dog immediately goes to the duffel bag and he starts to bark again. So I put the dog away, I call for backup, and the backup gets here, I go down, I'm zip the bag, and I smell this strong odor of marijuana coming out, thinking, okay, this thing is full of marijuana. You know, so I start moving the stuff around in the bag, and once I moved some of the clothing around, and it was full of money. And everything I opened from that point on was full of money. I mean, there was a stereo system. Yeah, there was a stereo system that had all the innards taken out, all the electronics taken out, and it was full of money. There was a camera box that had money in it, but the money was covered in duct tape. Then it had axle grease wrapped around it. Then it had saran wrap, and then it was duct taped again. You know, in order to try to throw the sin of the dog out. It was wrapped in money. I mean, everything I opened up had money in it. Like I said, being $500,000. And like I say, I mean, I've stopped transporting drug in all 4 tires on their car. I mean, they had built this elaborate metal ring that goes around the actual rim of the tire, you know, and inside of that, they had cocaine, you know, around all 4 tires. And then gas tanks, you know, I mean, you know, half the gas tank is actually operational, but the other half is full of cocaine. You know, and some indicators for that on that situation was this guy had a lot of receipts, and they had the times on him. He was stopping, you know, like every 150 miles to get gas, or every, you know, couple hours. Well, this is not right. You know, this is that. And so, you know, initially sniffed the car and, you know, just kind of open the gas tank or get to the gas tank, and the dog was in there, and then started barking and scratching, and I'm like, okay, he's scratching at the gas tank, you know. Wasn't that, so we ended up having to get him, you know, at that time we had acquired a camera that we could put a scope on it, and went down the gas tank, and like I said, half the gas tank was operational, the other half was full of cocaine. So it never ceased to amaze me that, you know, that's what I'm most impressed by the use of the dogs, is their sense of smell. Oh, yeah. Exactly.
I was working at Creighton when Tony made that $500,000 bust. And is it not true that he offered you the money?
Oh, yeah. I mean, he was charging bribery too. He offered me $300,000 to let him go. You know, so we charged him with bribery on top of you know, the drug money.
Stupidity charge.
Yeah. Yes, ma'am.
When these dogs retire, they don't realize they're off the job, do they? Are they that intelligent? I mean, now, if, like, the one that comes to school periodically as a therapy dog, wouldn't...
Yeah, it takes them a while, but finally they get used to the routine. I mean, they know more than I do. My dogs are like alarm clocks. I mean, they know in the morning they're up, and they know what time it is, and know when it's time to go to work, and I open the gate, he flies to the car, and he jumps in the back of the car, and he's telling he's raring to go to work, and you know, they know what time it is to get off. I mean, I used to try to trick my dog. I couldn't figure out how the heck, when I on the way home, that he knew, you know, I was like a mile away from home, so I tried to take different routes going home and try to throw him off, and he knew, like, you can't fool me, I know where home is. Yeah, but they know, and it takes them a while to get used to it. I mean, once they get used to it, they say, okay, you know, after a couple months or so, like, this is my routine now, so this is my routine, this is what I'm doing.
They got more intelligence than
Oh, they
a
do.
human being almost.
They do.
It's scary.
I mean, it's impressive.
So the police department, they get to keep all the money and they quit their vehicles?
No, what back then it was, they get to keep 80% of it, and 80% of it went to a multi-task task force, law enforcement task force throughout the Midwest. So with the money that I seized, they kept about 300,000 of it, but it was split between the Omaha Police Department, the Douglas County Sheriff's Department, the Nebraska State Patrol, Ralston Police, you know, all those different entities, and we use that money, you know, for continuing training, you know, for officers to go to. Like they sent the K-9 unit to schools on interdiction and how to recognize, you know, different, you know, things, people transporting drugs, you know, just different stuff. So we use it for, you know, continuing education in the police.
Do they get to keep the vehicles and stuff you impound?
If we seize some of the vehicles, some of the vehicles that we seize are kept, you know, not all of them, but we seize them, and that's where we get most of our undercover vehicles, you know, from seized vehicles. You know, we'll use them, they go through the process, and once a party's been convicted, you know, we may keep that vehicle, we may use it as an undercover vehicle.
Yeah, maybe you already said it, I missed it. When the dogs retire, then who furnishes the next dog? Is it school district or the police department?
Bridget, for the school district, they're the owner of the dogs.
Okay.
So they do all the purchasing, they're responsible for everything, the upkeep, the vet bills, and things of that nature. But there's agencies in Omaha, I mean, like my last dog, when he retired, it was donated to the Millers, it was donated to the Omaha Police Department, and I trained it, and then it was donated, from the police department donated to the Miller School District. I mean, we have different groups in the city, you know, that provide, you know, that give donation money for the horse patrol and the canine unit. So the only dog that we actually purchased through the police department was back in 1996 when we originally started up the unit, and it cost us $50,000 to buy, you know, the 5 dogs at the time. And then after that, donations kind of took over. Or, you know, once we got the knowledge, because all the handlers went through the process and we're all certified trainers now, in order to, you know, to train our own dogs. So we do a lot of selection of our own dogs. I mean, we go to the Humane Society, and we found 1 or 2 dogs that has the drive to do it, but not much. And we get a lot of calls from people, you know, thinking their dog would be police dogs, you know, because they make good hunting dogs and stuff like that. But once you go out and test them, you know, those drives aren't there. So we've gotten a couple that way. But for the most part, it's donations now. I mean, the dogs are donated. And like I said, we're at the point right now where originally when we started up, we had a vendor from the outside from the state patrol come out and train us how to train our dogs. And we took on the task of training our own dogs. And now we're trainers, and we train for just about everybody in the Midwest. I mean, Brian Rink, when he had his dog, we trained him. He came through the police department, and we trained him. The state patrol, a lot of their dogs came through us in Kansas and South Dakota, you know. So we've advanced a little bit in that area. Where, like I say, I've been training him now since for 22 years now.
How long does it take to transfer the dog from you to, say, when you're done with it and you give it to, like, the school back to somebody else? How long does it take to transfer the dog from ownership to ownership?
Okay, our dual purpose dogs, if the handler doesn't take them, we can't give them to private citizens. But usually, like I said, in every case, the handler has taken his dual purpose dog, just because with the dual purpose dog, he's trained to do the apprehension work. And it'd be too much liability for us to give that to a private citizen. And because they're trained to protect their handler also. So if I gave it to a private citizen and someone start yelling at that citizen, the dog's going to come in to defend that citizen. So if the handler doesn't take the dual purpose dog, then they put the dogs down. But in every case, you know, with the dual purpose dogs, they've gone to the.
But there is a period that you have to transfer the.
Yeah, but with our drug dogs now, they can go to anybody because we select them on the basis of the drives that they're really friendly dogs. I mean, all they want to do is play. All they want to do is be petted. They don't have that drive, that fight drive that our dual purpose dogs have. They just want to have fun and enjoy life. So I mean, right then. So when a drug dog handler retires, I mean, the next day, I mean, he can turn him over to pretty much anyone that wants him, and he'll fit in as long as he's know that he's going to be petted.
Had one years ago, and he transferred it to a family, but he said after the family had it it was so many days, and then he said he couldn't go back, and the dog wouldn't have nothing to do with him after he had transferred it to a different family. The dog went to them, and then he was no longer associated as his handler.
Yeah. Now see, with my one drug dog that went to the receptionist, you know, Dolly, I had to stay away for quite some time because whenever I go up to the school with my new dog, Dolly always wanted to come with me. You know, so I mean, even to this day, you know, if I go up there and I see her, you know, I mean, she's still like, oh, okay, you know, you're coming to pick me up. Yeah. So
I see you on the road all the time, you know, gravel. Can you pull me over for speeding? Not that I would do that.
Can you please, is that what you're saying?
Sir?
Do they have the capability of also detecting any kind of firearms or anything else that might come in?
If he's trained for that.
They can be trained for that?
Yeah, or our bomb dogs are trained to detect, gunpowder, so if there's a person has a firearm, yes. Really, you could train a dog to detect anything that you want. If I want to train to detect Folgers coffee, over butternut, I could do that, it can be done. I mean, I could put 5 cans of butternut and 1 can of Folgers, and you'll be able to pick out the Folgers. So long as you have the item that you want to train them on. I mean, like, I had started a bed bug dog for the Miller School District. The dog that retired went to the superintendent. There's one bed bug dog in Omaha, and the school, I had approached the school district about it, and I started the process of training that dog to detect bed bugs. So you can train them to detect pretty much anything you want them to detect. Yeah, we have cadaver dogs, we have, even blood pressure dogs. I mean, we have dogs that, in the schools now, or diabetes dogs, that there's a couple teachers, a teacher at Milledge South, who has a diabetes dog. I mean, the dog's able to tell when her blood level drops. So it just, like I say, it amazes me what these dogs can do with their nose.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Thank you for coming, Tony. Appreciate it.